All right, we're talking about OJ,
Mm-hmm.
correct? I know
Yes.
my edibles are starting to kick in. I might eat a little mushroom stem here. I've been eating mushrooms, bro, and they put me to sleep, like a certain amount.
What are you talking about? I have to have a sleeping pill because of mushrooms. What are you talking about? It puts you to sleep.
So I eat like a gram at 9 o'clock, and by 10:30, I'm yawning. I get a little tingle for about 10 minutes, and that's it. But anyway, we were talking about this guy. And, after he retired, I don't know what year he retired, I got into comedy, and I was going through hell. And, I wake up one day, and I go to my friend's house in Boulder, and there it is in the paper. OJ's wife got killed. And I heard years earlier he had gotten in trouble for domestic violence.
Yeah, John McCarthy was talking about that. Like he pulled him over one time.
And I remember going, but at that time, I didn't know anybody. I was like, he killed her.
Wow, okay.
But I want to explain something to people that if they haven't figured this out yet, Uncle Joey's going to tell them, okay? Just like people were amazed with the Epstein thing, and people today are blown away about the Diddy thing, this story had a lot of layers. If you knew anything about what was going on. In fact, if you want to look it up, Mezzaluna, the restaurant where Mr. Goldman worked and they left that night, 2 years later, they got shut down for cocaine.
Oh, Jesus.
They waited till after the OJ trial and they shut it down because the owners sold a kilo. I don't know. Look it up. But they closed down. That was never there ever again. They were involved in a tricky situation. They were separated or divorced, but he was still banging her from time to time. He had control of her. She was no angel. God rest her soul. I'm not saying anything bad about her. But she played a fucked up game with people who were fucked up. I mean, word on the street is the waiter brought the coke over to her house that night, and she was waiting for Marcus Allen.
Really?
Are those stories true? No. I don't know. I'm not saying no. But, she ends up dead, and everything points at OJ. I mean, the truck, the glove, and they fucked it up on one technicality, and they found a print. But it rained that night, and it washed the print off. And then they fucked it up with whatever they wanted to do. And then they got the word from the higher-ups. Listen, we can't, because if we convict, there's 1,000 things. But the bottom line was, just as creepy as Epstein, just as people are appalled by Diddy right now, it was a disgusting life that they didn't need. He told them, move to New York. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can light your pussy on fire. Just don't do it here, because this is my backyard. And people are going to hear about it, and they're going to embarrass me. And, I guess people believe, I feel bad about the whole thing. We're goofing on it before, but in reality, I'm a human being.
Yeah.
And I felt bad at the time. Only, I got to make a confession to you. Okay. At that time, I was thinking of killing my wife. So, my ex-wife.
Right, yeah.
So it fueled that.
Really?
It really did fuel that. It fueled that. By the time he got let off, I was living in Seattle. But that, because it was a similar thing. She took my child and moved her in with a man without even talking to me. Nobody ever came to me. I kept calling the mother, and she's like, oh, she's out. Really? At fucking 3 a.m, she's out with the fucking kid? It's just... So I felt like, I was disrespected. That anger, the blow didn't help. Whatever OJ was going through, I was going through, And it just, it was one of the many things that we never discussed, how it just fueled me. It really did, because it felt like I had to do something now. Like the fucking dog was talking to me. The Jewish guy in New York City, the dog was talking to him.
Right.
That dude. And that wasn't the dog. That was, I told you, that Jews dress up. That was a Jew from Israel dressed up as a dog, barking at him and shit.
Barking at him in Hebrew. Fuck. How do you, that's because you've talked about like almost doing that to like her new boyfriend or whatever he was, like, and then you thank God you decided not to.
Dog, it was a very, very scary time for me. I was very volatile.
Yeah.
And I was angry, and I felt like, I was lost. And the only thing that kept me alive then was stand-up.
Jesus.
That's why I owed my life to stand-up, because everything was shitty in my life. I wasn't really making any money. I was doing drugs. I was living in a basement apartment with a metal shower. My bed was like $1,000 bed, but it covered the whole room. So I didn't have walking distance. I had to take the door off the hinge, and I would just jump in the bed at night like a fucking chimney, And that seemed like an option. It was like, if I get rid of these motherfuckers, for a couple of weeks I lived there, maybe for a few months. It wasn't good. And then I started saying the truth, that this was never going to work. But just because it didn't going to work, I couldn't be around them, because I know me. I know how I get. I don't think about it for a year, and one day I'm driving down the street and some guy cuts me off, and I think about her, and I make a U-turn and drive to a house and end it. I'm one of those idiots like that. That's why I always got in trouble, because I don't know when, So, but man, it was a tough time in my life. Because I lived there from, he killed her on the 12th of June, maybe 94. And I stayed another year, almost to the date. I left like June 25th.
And I don't know if you ever even got this far, but there's not really a way for you to get help for that. Right? Because as soon as you say that, you're going to somewhere. Like it would be almost better if, like, I wish you could talk to someone about that. I bet people...
At that time, I was broken, I had no control over anything. I had no control over the relationship. I had no control over my addiction. The only thing I had control of was going on stage. And no matter how bad I felt, I'm like, if I go on stage, I'm going to feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And here's why I tell people, just because fucking somebody read you the riot act, your life ain't done. Because I took that anger and I went out every night. And I got to be honest with you, I never showed it on stage.
Turn off your TVs, run for your lives. It's over. They didn't put you on this planet just to give up. If Uncle Joey could do it, I could fucking rule the world. That's what you gotta be thinking.
Welcome back to church, motherfucker!